Hey buds, welcome back to Metables and welcome to Liveables, I guess. I don't know. Should I be doing a different intro for this? Welcome to our first ever Deltarune lore video. Who Dr. Gaster is and why that matters to Deltarune. Okay, there's a lot of shit in this. Okay, I don't know exactly who Dr. Gaster is. I know what he looks like. I know there's been a lot of conversation about him. I know there's a lot of Deltarune lore videos. So if there's Deltarune lore videos you want to watch me react to or watch us react to, because we got a bunch of cuties here. Come over to stream. Come check it out. All right, we're gonna do this one first and see. Hey, do you guys like this stuff? And then we'll take it from there. You know what I mean? So this is from Misty Sparkles. All right. If you like the video, please go support her and go sub to her. Okay.
Recently, I saw a comment of someone genuinely not knowing why people were so obsessed with Undertale character Dr. W.D. Gaster in regards to Deltarune.
Mm-hmm.
The replies were people either agreeing and not knowing the significance of the character on a meta level, neither canon nor fanon, or people being just as floored
Fanon's
as
a
I
thing?
am that others are missing the obvious hints. Then I realized Undertale's popularity reached a peak around 2016.
Okay.
That was years ago now. Dr. Gaster was a big point of interest, and all the evidence of his existence and significance is basically buried on fan wikis and ancient Tumblr posts, which may or may not even exist anymore. If you played Undertale in isolation right now, it's likely you will just never find out about any of this. You either need to be able to decompile the game, or you just need the internet where other people can do that more easily and find out all about it there.
That's crazy. That has such a low chance, right? I think I remember someone talking to me about it, and it was like less than like a 1% chance to maybe see him, right? So like the fact that like most people should not know who this is, but because the internet exists, he's a big figure supposedly, right?
In contrast, I knew who Dr. Gaster was before I even played the game. That's how big of a deal he was seen in the early months of the fandom.
That's crazy.
That has waned over time because there is no conclusion to Dr. Gaster. He existed in the world of Undertale, now he doesn't. We can't even be 100% sure what he even looks like. So here's a video explaining who the hell Dr. W.D. Gaster is and why he's painfully significant to Deltarune. I'm going to try to list things.
Painfully significant? I didn't see any reason why. You know, what we recently played through all of Deltarune, and I don't remember. I guess I maybe I wouldn't have known anyway. That's like where he was in it, or where like basically why. I didn't feel his presence anywhere.
As objectively as humanly possible, as much Gaster information and content has since been overrun by fanon, since you kind of had to make things up if you wanted to make any fan content for him.
Sure.
I will try to make it clear when I am neither speculating or repeating a popular fan theory, okay? Here we go. There is a hidden character in Undertale named Dr. W.D. Gaster.
Okay.
He was Asgore's former royal scientist before Dr. Alphys.
Oh.
You can find out about him through hidden NPCs that can rarely be seen during regular gameplay and can be manipulated into appearing through simple edits of easily accessible files, using an otherwise useless mechanic, the fun value. Fun value is a random number generated at the start of a playthrough, and depending on what number you get, many things will possibly occur. Here's a handy chart I found on the—
What the fuck? Really? So does this so this is the interesting. So this is like the randomly generated like experience thing. What the fuck? That's interesting. I never thought about that being like a almost like a roll a 100-sided dice and see where it lands, and that's the experience you get. You know, it's kind of like a DM thing. Interesting. Is this like the true thing too? Wrong number song. Okay. And then we have a Sans call from 40 to 45. Alphys call from 46 to 50. We have Nightmare mode. 56 and 57. Gaster followers. 61, 62, and 63. What the fuck? Isn't that interesting? 65 is sound test room. Fake hallway. And that's where he's in 66. And Clam Girl.
wiki. These gray monochrome NPCs will tell you a story about how Dr. Gaster was a brilliant scientist who created the Corin Hotland, but then fell into his creation. It can be inferred that the creation is the core, since it was mentioned shortly after the comment about him making it, but the Gaster followers' dialogue can be just vague enough to make me doubt literally anything they say. After he fell into his creation, Gaster seemed to have vanished, implied to have been erased from existence entirely, probably even everyone's memory.
This is so interesting. What the fuck? But the thing is, like, Toby Fox doesn't do... Well, all right, Toby Fox does do random shit for random shit. But also, Toby Fox puts in really intricate things. You know, as we've seen in Deltarune, like, every little thing matters. You know? So, like, this is definitely an on-purpose thing, and there's probably a huge... Like, there's no way he just put in, like, here's a chance at, a little secret character. Like, this is a big fucking deal. You know? Like, knowing who he is now, and, like, the numbers thing, and just, like, the in-depthness of the games, it's kind of crazy.
He was said to be shattered across time and space.
That's
the
nuts.
very hidden log known as entry number 17
Is that
can be
Wingdings?
found by easily editing the files to room 264. This room is labeled room_Gaster in the files of the game.
Okay.
The entry is written entirely in all caps Wingdings font.
All
It can
caps.
therefore be easily assumed that the WD stands for
Wingdings!
Thus can be
Oh!
assumed that
Honestly, cute. That's a cute idea.
Dr. Wingdings Gaster might also be a skeleton, considering the theme of naming skeletons after fonts, and them
Fair.
speaking their text boxes in those fonts.
Fair. Interesting. Slut. Not her, just I don't know, I needed to say something aggressive. That's interesting. I didn't even think about that. Oh my, well, I mean, I guess I'm not supposed to, but like, that's a great idea. I would have never put that together.
It's also entirely possible that Gaster is just the Aster font with a G tacked on.
Okay.
He gets two. In entry number 17, once translated into actual words, reads what seems to be the middle of a conversation about an experiment. Entry number 17. Dark, darker, yet darker. The darkness keeps growing, the shadows cutting deeper. Photon reading is negative. This next experiment seems very, very interesting.
But what if, when I play through this is the experience we get? You know, because again, like, there is a small chance of getting this stuff to happen. You know what I mean? There's a chance, but that's also what everybody says. So you usually have to alter it, but otherwise, you know, you roll the dice.
What do you two think? It's my guess.
What do you two think?
I hope you like it. Remember the phrases very, very interesting and darker yet darker. They are important
don't.
for our purposes.
Okay.
Please also remember this very distinct sound that plays while entry 17 is being read.
Okay. It almost sounds like something's playing very slowly or backwards, right?
There are also apparently battle stats for Gaster hidden in the files of the game. Every
Interesting.
stat, defense, attack, and even the money payout upon defeat is just a series of sixes. If the fun value is at 66, either by way of pure 1 in 1,000 chance luck or by file editing, there is a 10% chance that you can find a gray door and waterfall that leads to a small room with this sprite. This sprite is called Mystery Man.
Okay.
Because of the fun value needing to be set at 66 and the battle stats all being sixes, this is the commonly assumed appearance of Gaster. It's technically speculation, but I feel like it would be genuinely weird if this didn't turn out to be him, considering the number 6 motif.
That's
This
fair.
sprite can easily be seen as resembling a distorted cartoon skeleton, perfectly in line with the somewhat unorthodox skull shapes of Papyrus and especially Sans.
Yeah, but they're, like, that's definitely a skull face. Like, these are skull faces when you look at them. You know, that makes sense, but when you look at this bitch, that doesn't not necessarily look like a skeleton, but also he fell into, like, a pit, right? Like basically how Joker became Joker or some shit like that, right? So, like, he's been fucked with. So that definitely could be a mushed up skull, but then he's also missing his nose. Can't be a skeleton without well, you're not supposed to have a nose, but you're supposed to have a nose. You know what I mean?
Skull shapes of Papyrus and especially Sans. The distortion also lines up with being not whole, since Gaster was shattered across time and space.
Right.
He has no nose, no legs, no visible arms, nothing that can even be interpreted as fingers, and generally looks a little
Those
melted.
look like hands.
Him being melted and goopy is basically universally accepted fanon, but it's extremely possible in canon if he did in fact fall into the core, you know, the thing harvesting searing geothermal energy.
Lava would probably do that. That would check out.
But
Right?
speculation. I
Fair.
want to quickly say my own little theory here, so making it clear right now what I'm about to say is theory.
Mhm.
I really do think that this Mystery Man sprite has to be Dr. Gaster. Not
That's
just
fair.
because of the sixes, but because seemingly every Fun Value event is somehow related to Gaster. Other events
Really?
include Sans prank calling you. Sans is implied to be somehow connected to Gaster. Alfie's accidentally calls you when she's trying to order a pizza. Alfie's is
Okay.
brought up a few times by the followers and shares Gaster's position as a royal scientist. The sound test room is only notable for containing Gaster's theme.
Oh.
4 of the events are Gaster followers, and there's one involving the mascot, Icy, who was brought up once in all of Undertale
Here, hold on. I was waiting for her to pause for a second because I want to look at
for
these.
containing Gaster's theme. 4 of the
Interesting. I don't know if it's 1,000 or 100. I don't know. It's a very, very small chance though. It's well, I guess you would have to it would probably be 1 out of 100, right? Because you have to get room 66 to see him out of maybe 100, unless there's 1,000 of those things. Because these are characters that you see. Well, actually, I don't know. I don't recognize most. I recognize this one on the right. This one looks like the yellow kid, but also, no, yeah, it definitely looks like the yellow kid. So I wonder why this character. You know, why is this character associated with this crazy creature? Well, WD Gaster. You know what I mean?
events are Gaster followers, and there's one involving the mascot, Icy, who was brought up once in all of Undertale by Sans, but is a prominent corporate mascot in the world of Deltarune. The misfits here seem to be the Wrong Number song, and for a few years, Clam Girl.
Clam
Girl is
Girl.
an NPC in Waterfall who talks about her neighbor's daughter,
Susie.
This now
What? That's fucking wild. Huh. Yeah, I'm not good at math, and so I mean I'll leave that up to everybody else. I can do basic math decently, but I'll leave that to you. But like, that's crazy. Is that not crazy? Where's all the shocked emotes right now? This is fucking wild. I would have, if I didn't watch this and I played through Undertale and then I saw her name was Susie, I would have exploded. I absolutely would have exploded.
adds up in retrospect, but even more than that, when the
Oh, well, it's spelled differently though. But I don't know if that's a big thing or not, if it's spelled one way or another.
Switch port came out, if you got Clam Girl by sheer dumb luck and talked to her after you beat the final boss Azrael, she goes grayscale and says the time you will meet Susie is fast approaching.
That's fucking
Deltarune
crazy.
Chapter 1 came out a little over a month later. The Wrong Number phone call is the most vague, but they ask if they can talk to someone whose name starts with a G. You'd think Gaster, but hey, it could be Grillby or Gerson. It could be G Spampton. Oh my god, I don't know. I don't think this G was put here for no good reason, though. However,
Fair.
I can't tell you with any amount of certainty what I think it stands for. I think Gaster might be the explanation here, but that might be confirmation bias.
It could be,
So,
for
theory
sure.
over. Back to the Mystery Man sprite. The only other sprite that could possibly be him appears in a debug room, which is just for developer testing, and
That's
therefore
creepy.
might have no actual significance on actual canon. This could have possibly just been for making sure the Wingdings font was working properly, but I'm not going to rule this sprite out. Something
fair.
also notable, but doesn't tell us too much, is that the skulls Sans uses to shoot lasers when he megalovanias you
Mhm.
are called Gaster Blasters in the file.
Interesting. What the fuck? Dude, lore videos are nuts. Props to these people, you know? This is crazy work. I could not imagine being able to dig through this. You know how exciting that's gotta be, though? If you're, like, hunting this shit down and you're like, oh my god, this is called a Gaster Blaster. I would explode. That's it.
This does at least tell us that Sans has got to have something to do with Gaster. Sans is also seemingly good friends with Alphys, but no one really knew that. And they seem to have worked on a mysterious mystery machine together. Not that one. Because the handwriting is said to be very bad on the blueprints, and it's said several times that Alphys' handwriting is very bad. As mentioned before, there is a hidden sound room in Snowdin, activated by Fun Value, that includes Gaster's theme. A simple, creepy melody. Once it is playing, it cannot be stopped.
Oh my god, it's beautiful. Right?
Then it says, "Thank you for the feedback." If you try to put the name Gaster at the beginning of either Undertale or Deltarune, the game immediately crashes the second you put in the last letter. You don't even hit enter, it just crashes.
What the fuck? Clarification, if you name the fallen child or your vessel Gaster, it will take you back to the intro start. If you name yourself Gaster, Deltarune, it will close itself. Interesting. That is wild. See, that's what I'm saying, like, there's no way you just don't do anything else with this bitch. So I wonder, since Undertale is done, if Gaster will be a thing in Deltarune in the later chapters or not. You know, because if you go through Deltarune and there's nothing else that supports any of these other ideas, that would be horrible. You know, for everybody that's digging into this shit, and you're like, oh, well, I guess it was just something that he's fucking around with people, or if it's like a big thing, it could be a big thing in the story.
Now, what does any of that Undertale bullshit have to do with Deltarune?
Here we go.
Everything. This has everything to do with Deltarune. You know how Undertale characters...
Just to clarify again, I've never physically played Undertale. I have seen a playthrough of it 10 years ago or so, so that's why we're going to go be playing through that again with my buddy that has never played it, and then recently we played through Deltarune. So all of this we're going to recognize. All the other stuff, I recognize the images and the characters a little bit, but it's, you know, it's basically a game that you haven't played in fucking forever.
Feature prominently in Deltarune. I'm halfway convinced Gaster is actually a Deltarune character that somehow weaseled his way into Undertale. In a tweet regarding Chapter 2, Toby Fox has said he's glad Deltarune is being seen as its own thing, rather than just purely in its relation to Undertale. Which it should be. It is its own game. Most of the main characters are unique to Deltarune, and it has its own separate story and world. But even if Deltarune is its own thing, its own universe where no plot points from Undertale ever carry over, Deltarune can't be divorced from Undertale.
Right.
Undertale is context for things that happen in Deltarune.
Okay.
Whenever you download it anywhere, it always is sure to say it's a game for people who have finished Undertale.
I never saw that note. So, I don't know if I was supposed to. I mean, I just wanted to get into Undertale because it was, there's other chapters coming out and people seem to like it. So I was like, oh, I know of Undertale, so I don't know if I need the other thing because it's not necessarily associated, but I don't know if it needed to be associated in my PC or not. So I don't know if we're going to get a different experience going through Deltarune first and then going through Undertale, but we're going to find out.
Many characters from Undertale reappear here, some even being entirely unchanged. Hi, Sans. Many just have a change of costume or career and are otherwise the same person. Mm-hmm. There are many jokes that fall completely flat if you're not familiar with Undertale. Who's Alphys? A joke that hammers in that this is an alternate universe. A book so you don't forget the name of Hot's Fire Guy. That one's really obscure if you only finish Undertale once. Oh. Asriel has a picture of a flower on his wall. The plots in the graveyard are the amalgamates. The first time we meet Deltarune Asgore directly mirrors
I didn't know that either. What the fuck? That's crazy.
Meet him in Undertale. Spamton Neo is literally using Mettaton Neo's body in the song Power.
I thought did I mention that when I played this? Because I'm like, I could have sworn, maybe I didn't. Maybe I didn't say that. But I thought I did say it looked like Mettaton. I guess I'll have to rewatch my own playthrough to see what I said about it, but like, it definitely looked like it.
Plays exactly how it was presented in Undertale within Spamton Neo's battle theme.
Oh yeah!
Neo is known for its high defense.
Jesus.
Comparisons to Undertale are inevitable, and obviously Toby Fox knows this. He's making them himself. I think the desire is more to not think of Deltarune as just Undertale 2.
Alright, let's see. Hold on real quick. Please don't worry too much about that. Essentially, this is not the world of Undertale. If you completed Undertale, the ending and world are as you left it. If everyone was happy there, people in the Undertale will still be happy. So please don't worry about these characters in that world. It will remain untouched. Interesting. Okay.
Or assuming it's the same universe and that the pacifist or murder roots are going to affect it at all. So I'm not saying that Deltarune and Undertale are somehow secretly directly linked in the
You know what this kind of reminds me of? I feel like I talked about this recently because we did a reaction to a Majora's Mask animation. And Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time kind of share this Deltarune Undertale experience. You know what I mean? Where it's like, it's the same characters and not necessarily the same world, but like a lot of similarities of like characters and like relations and like, so like there definitely could be similarities between the two where like, oh, you learn this about this character, but even though it's not the same character, it kind of shows like what the character would be like in a different dimension. So it kind of shows you their thought process or the way they would live or whatever it may be. So like it's just interesting. I've never considered that like for like other games as well, like using a story and then taking that same story but like scrambling it a little bit, but it's still kind of relating to the original story a little bit in some portions.
story is all going to come back around to Undertale. I don't want it to. I like Deltarune for being Deltarune. It is its own story, but doing so riddled with references to the game that is its direct predecessor. Hell, I don't even necessarily think that the Gaster in Undertale is the Gaster in Deltarune, but I think it's reasonable to assume we can use the information from Undertale and apply it here. The association with the number 6, the similar way his dialogue gets formatted are very basic things that would probably get carried over to a different version of the character. With that said, Gaster has an absolutely undeniable presence in Deltarune, more so than he ever had in Undertale. This actually predates the game Deltarune itself. Deltarune.com has existed since, I believe, 2015, 3 years before Chapter 1 came out, and the year Undertale itself came out. On it was a dark image called him.png that, if Brighton would show the text in all caps wingding font reading, "This next experiment seems very, very interesting." Then it changed to another message in all caps wingdings describing the plot of Deltarune. 3 heroes appear to banish the angels' heaven. It's Dr. Gaster. I don't know why I'd need to go.
What was it exactly? 3 heroes appeared to banish the angels' heaven. What the fuck? I guess that's kind of like the Titans that we fought, right? Because it was kind of like angelic, right? Didn't it have like wings and like feathers and stuff? But also, like, angels in, like, real, like, lore are, like, really creepy looking, too. So, I mean... How the fuck deep is Deltarune gonna go?
Banish the angels' heaven. It's Dr. Gaster. I don't know why I'd need to go on because of how obviously Gaster is god of the Deltaverse, but I will. Also note that both those images are called him.png. There is a file related to Gaster in Undertale called him, and the song that plays in the intro of Chapter 1 is called Another Hymn. Another Gaster. 2 of them. Then there was a series of surprise tweets on the Undertale Twitter on October 30th, 2018. These tweets are written in all caps with odd spacing, very reminiscent of Entry 17. Welcome. Have you been looking for me? How wonderful! I have been looking for you as well. I have something I want to show you. Something I think you will find very, very interesting.
People probably lost their goddamn minds with that. You know what I mean? That had to be so wild.
I'll admit, when very, very interesting popped up in these tweets, I just about had a goddamn heart attack. Then Chapter 1 actually comes out. At its beginning, we have most likely the same ominous voice as was on Twitter narrating to us. I can't believe Twitter was actually useful for something. Another hymn playing. There's no hint bombs, like very, very interesting in this opening, but it is using all caps in the same distinct spacing. I assume the reason it's not in Wingdings is because we need to be able to read it.
That's fair too. I kind of forgot in the beginning of this game that you got to customize your character, and then they just throw it away. It's what a way to start the game, you know what I mean?
Wouldn't be very big shot of Gaster to make the seizure warning indecipherable. So if you want to be like a smartass and say, but he's not speaking in wingdings, shut up.
It actually would be funny if like you did that in another game too. Like I could imagine that almost like in Borderlands, if you made like you customize your own Borderlands character, and then as soon as they walk out, they get hit by the car, and then that music plays. Ain't no rest for the wicked, you know, and then you get to pick your character. I could see that being a thing.
When the style of speaking is dropped and it's written in proper capitalization, theory time, there is an actually very compelling theory involving the Japanese translation that might suggest that this is...
Did they do it in Phantom Pain? Now that you say that, I kind of remember that happening. Huh. I haven't played that. I loved Phantom Pain. It was like one of the only Metal Gear games I played. But I forgot all about that because your face was covered and you were in a hospital gown, right? In the beginning. I forgot all about that.
The original fallen child default name Kara, whatever, from Undertale, who is already a similarly ominous presence, has taken over and hijacked the character creator, assigning you to Chris, a teenager not unlike Chara. Of course, since there are so many similarities between the two characters, you could also assume that this might have been Chris themselves, but that's going into vague, unprovable theory territory. Also, I'm not saying that this is the same Chara. It's very possible that there is a separate Chara in Deltarune. However, I like to think it's the same one, and they're dead now and are venturing between universes, and Gaster has to babysit his boss's kid for all eternity. Anyway, finally we get to the actual game. Let me stress that all of that I just cited was before the actual game begins.
Do you think Toriel never noticed this bloodstain here? I feel like the quality of a mother Toriel is. I feel like she would recognize that bloodstain being there. You know, unless something did happen and she, like, you know, just like, all right, we can't get that out now. But I feel like she would be able to. You know? It's jam? No, it's blood, isn't it? Because then Susie teaches you how to remove blood and we clean it. Is it? There's no way it's just jam. Yeah.
Before the actual game begins. In the actual game, the main plot is about Chris and Susie, two teenagers that discover a dark world in the school supply closet.
Right.
Come chapter 2, there appear to be multiple dark worlds, with new ones being created. What might this remind us of? The darkness keeps growing, the shadows cutting deeper, photon readings negative. This closet is emitting darkness, as if it had the same properties as light. I think photon readings would have to be negative in order to do that. Also, if you look at Deltarune's information, at least when it was just chapter 1, I haven't checked since, the version is labeled 6.6.6. I don't know why Gaster is Satan, just go with it. Wait. Theory. Gaster fell into the core, and Deltarune is about an angel. Gaster's a fallen angel. Anyway, when you defeat these so hard it literally took me 3 years to beat him, bonus boss Jevil.
Really? I mean, it took us a little bit of time. 3 years is crazy, but I mean, people did talk about in the comments about how, like, these optional bosses were definitely rough, but I still think I had the most rough time with Jevil that I did with the other 2 or 3, right? I feel like in my experience, I think it goes like Jevil. Actually, I think it goes in order. You know, it almost goes like Jevil, then Neo Spamton, then the like mantle, the shadow mantle, and then the knight. I think that's exactly the difficulty because the knight is not that bad. But again, I played the knight post nerf, or I fought him post nerf, so I don't know how much worse it was. But otherwise, like, it didn't take us that long.
He either spouts off something about the knight, yet another vague, ominous entity, or if you fight him, he foreshadows Chapter 2's queen. Jevil is off. He's too giggly for comfort, doesn't always use the correct words or grammar, is absolutely obsessed with chaos, and seems to be aware that he's...
Actually, I don't know if this is probably reaching too, but like, he uses the spacing here that like she's explaining with Gaster, where you do like the, you know, the extra space or whatever.
And seems to be aware that he's in a game. Also, I love him and he'll never know that. Once you beat him, you can go to plush toy cat shopkeeper Sham,
We did that.
who has officially ruined how I read the word seem, then we'll
It's fair.
explain Jevil's deal. He met someone strange, someone who No one really knows who it was. After that, Jevil went fucking coconuts and started babbling about how everything was just a game. Nothing here is damning evidence until Sham says that because of this, their view of this world has grown darker yet darker.
Right.
What an oddly specific way of phrasing that, Sham. When Chapter 2 came around, the mystery narrator that we were presuming is Gaster returned to Twitter. No telling quotes here, but I want to point out how funny I find it that Gaster narrator thanks us for our patience in these difficult times. Not even being shattered across time and space keeps you safe from COVID. Gaster was out of work for like 3 months. It was terrible. Chapter 2 is pretty straightforward at the start, even if you're, murdering. When we get to the bonus boss of this chapter in the normal route, Spamton and his Neo form, things become vague and ominous very quickly. After you beat Spamton Neo, the personifications of internet advertisements, the Addisons, all go to the garbage dump where Spamton has been living, and when talking to them one by one, Spamton's sad backstory is revealed.
I think around this point in our playthrough is when I started seeing comments about it. Once I was able to go back and read everything, I'm like, oh, this is... People are saying something about Gaster here, and then I'm like, okay, I don't want to watch anything with Gaster until I'm done with Deltarune, so that's where we are now. But I think it was around this point when we went back.
He was an Addison like them. He still is, really. He has the same permanent smile, the same tasteful V-neck sweater, and the same nose. It took me far too long to notice their similarities, and I need to validate that by explaining it to you like it's new information. He was very unlucky and never got attention until he suddenly started spending all of his time on the phone with someone. No one knows who it was, but suddenly Spamton was awfully popular to the point where all the other Addisons stopped hanging out with him because they felt unneeded. I'd like to point out that this game made me feel bad for ads. Jesus Christ. Eventually, whoever was calling suddenly disappeared. While not perfectly fitting the puzzle pieces, I will say Gaster seems to have a real talent for suddenly disappearing from existence. But more than that, is the final Addison says that he went to check on Spamton after Spamton got evicted from Queen's Mansion. They didn't find Spamton, but found his phone with a receiver off the hook. When the Addison tried to see who Spamton had been talking to, they said they heard nothing but garbage noise. What makes that relevant is that if you try to use Chris's cell phone in the Dark World, it plays the exact sound that plays in Entry 17, a sound effect that isn't used at all anywhere else in the game in this state.
Really? That's crazy.
And describes the sound as nothing but garbage noise.
What the fuck?
It's pretty much accepted that Jevil and Spamton were driven mad by the same mysterious force, but for a long time it wasn't terribly clear who that was. Many people were convinced it was Gaster, as he's the most vague, ominous, unnamed presence we have. Yeah. He can tell them the true nature of the world they live in, because he, more than anyone, seems to be aware of how...
Hold on. Sorry. I keep waiting for her to stop sometimes so I can put a little comment in. There's also, like... I noticed, like, it's hard to not notice throughout, but, like, when you do some of these other darker moments, there's a lot of things that reflect Spamton. You know, like, when we were getting the mantle, like, the things that were chasing us had, like, a yellow and pink eye, you know, and they were black and white, so I didn't know if they were supposed to be associated with him at all, or, like, whatever relation it was supposed to be. So I don't know what happened between these two, or he used something about Spamton, or, like, I don't know. But for some reason, we keep seeing the eyes, and this is the only other place I thought we saw those eyes together.
Can tell them the true nature of the world they live in, because he, more than anyone, seems to be aware of how much of a video game this is. But many thought it was the Knight, also mysterious and vague. No one knew what the Knight's deal was, so it seemed reasonable to assume. Some people even thought they were the same person, that Gaster is the Knight. However, the end of Chapter 2 gave us a very compelling candidate for the Knight, so Knight Gaster may be less likely now. But with this garbage noise point, that cannot be a coincidence.
I have to remember that this also came out a few years ago, so we have a lot more other information that we're going to have to go through. So that's why we have to watch more lore videos at some point, because there's a lot of shit that happened in chapters 3 and 4.
Toby Fox is the writer. He's really good with sound. He approves everything that goes into the game. He knew what this was going to be implying. So that is the undeniable, surreal breadcrumb trail of W.D. Gaster. I want to go over some things that could be damning evidence, but might also just be a coincidence.
Sure.
One thing is Gaster's theme. Undertale and Deltarune are known to reuse tunes, usually for very relevant reasons, like when characters have connections. Or maybe it's just the main theme of the game and sneaks its way into half the tracks.
I guess that's fair.
Don't forget, I'm with you in the dark.
That is so interesting. Oh my god. I couldn't even imagine trying to like make something like this. You know, like sometimes I'm like, you know what? Maybe we can learn how to make a game. And then you see someone that like really knows how to make a game and you're like, maybe I don't think enough about how things are supposed to be. Cause that is crazy to reuse things and like manipulate it. It's wild to me. Anyway. It's fair, dude. That's kind of crazy. I think it's nice too, though, because like it really is everywhere, but like I think, how do I word this properly? It almost ties the game together. You know what I mean? Like it's used suddenly, like, how do I word it properly? Nonchalantly to like where you may recognize it, but you also may not recognize it. But it almost just like keeps the whole theme like locked in. You know what I mean? Maybe that's the best way to describe it. Because like when you keep hearing it, you're like, oh, this is a big moment. This is a big moment. This is like, you know, this is home. You know, maybe that's the whole idea, is that like this all affects where we live and shit like that. I don't know. It's a really cool idea. Like it's just a simple like da 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 da. It's crazy. Yeah.
Gaster's theme might show up a few other times in Undertale, and seems like it shows up a lot more in Deltarune. I can't be entirely sure though, because Gaster's theme is very simple. It's 4 creepy sounding notes strung together, and then again in a different pitch.
Yeah.
Some instances of what sounds like Gaster's theme might actually not be it, but rather because there's a simple melody that might share 2 notes with Gaster's theme.
Okay. I kind of forgot that there's like a whole new album of music we're gonna have to go through once we go through Undertale. You know, because I've been listening to the Deltarune soundtrack constantly, like almost daily at this point. So like once we go back through Undertale, I'm excited to kind of go back through that, or go like kind of re-experience all the music and the vibes and stuff together. It's gonna be awesome. I'm so excited. What the fuck is this?
This might be on purpose. It's so short and simple, actively and intentionally causing you to hear it everywhere. Like, it sort of sounds like it's playing very low in the bass of Rules card theme, but it's hard to completely make out. There's also an instance where it might be playing in the song Circus and the World Revolving, 2 songs associated with Jevil. Because of the extremely possible connection Jevil might have to Gaster, I am not ruling this out at all,
Fair.
But it's not an immediately obvious example. You can see how this could get tricky. Gaster's theme does, however, play very clearly in the background melody for Card Castle. I will not let that go. That is what's playing.
I mean, definitely can be.
And it has to be playing at that song in the very beginning where the guy who sounds like he's Gaster is speaking to us. It's just missing a note in the middle.
It does sound like that.
I'm not going to pretend that ridiculously talented musician and known leitmotif enthusiast Toby Fox didn't know what tune he was using.
That's what I'm saying, though. Like, I feel like he's so good at knowing what he wants and what he does that there's no reason that things are not consequential. There's a word for it. That it's not on purpose. Sorry.
Clearly for the main melody. Now, there's a lot of fan speculation and headcanons around Gaster. He is the perfect combination of vague mystery and just enough information to work with.
It does.
There's a very popular assumption that Dr. Gaster is Sans and Papyrus's father. This headcanon is not at all unfounded, even if there is no real implication of it in even the most buried of information. The reason people think this is due to things like Sans's Gaster blasters.
Okay.
They are part of his own unique monster magic, but are distinctly named after another character.
Right.
You know, like he's inherited them or something.
That's fair, but also the cannons could be a form of technology instead of inherited. So it could have, he could have like taken them from, because he said they said that Gaster worked with Alphys and they were like, you know, in a facility. So I mean, Sans, I guess, teleports between games and stuff. He might know about these like powers and weapons and stuff like that. Maybe.
There's also the vague possibility that Papyrus also has these, that they were part of his special attack that the annoying dog ruined. This is inferred from when you and Papyrus hang out if you spare him after doing the kill everyone route up to that point. If you look at his box of bones, he says it's his special attack that could have blasted you had he used it. Too vague to prove anything, but notable enough to not dismiss it entirely.
Right.
There's also the fact that it's rare to see multiple types of the same prominently featured monsters that aren't related or somehow connected. Every boss monster is related. Toriel and Asgore were married, and Azrael is their son. Outside of them, there are no other goats. Napstablook,
That's fair. That is fair. Interesting. So, dude, I love these. I love watching this shit. It's fascinating to me.
Dummy, the Ruins Dummy, and Metaton are the only ghosts and are all said to be cousins. It's a very sense-making assumption that all the skeletons are related to each other. Father is commonly assumed, but it's not our only option. He could be a third brother or a cousin.
Okay.
Now, and this is going to sound very tinfoil hat, but there's a song found in the files of the Undertale demo called Grandpa Semi, likely referring to Semi-Serif Ifont. Grandpa Semi seems to be a genuinely scrap character rather than a fake scrap character like Gaster. More proof of this is that if you mess with the concept art and notes Toby posted to his Twitter, you can see the writing on the back bleeding through. And
This one's a reach, but I mean, if you got the information, you get the. That's crazy. Could you imagine how upset he would have been if, like, people found, like, his big reveal because he posted something stupid on Twitter?
Pa Semi is clearly written. This was a character at some point early on. It is also possible that this character might have morphed into Gaster over the course of development. So Gaster might be their grandfather.
Can your grandfather do this? Hey, ha, hoo, hey, ha.
Great.
Hoo, hey, ha. Oh.
Sadly, I have no smoking gun for the skeleton family claims, but there is one more thing that is
Hit me with
very, very interesting.
Shut up.
The vaguest, most unprovable thing I want to bring up, just because it's so simultaneously mysterious and hilarious, is on Toby's aforementioned notes. On the notes for Papyrus, it says, has a brother named Comic Sans and a blank named blank. I had the thought that maybe this was blacked out because it's early info that didn't go anywhere and he doesn't want to confuse anyone with thrown out concept art. But then why didn't he black out the whole thing?
Right. That's crazy. What a tease. You know? What a tease, man. He does this shit on purpose, and he has a great time doing it. He probably just, like, you know, if he's bored, he'll post something, and then he'll just watch Twitter for, like, the next fucking few hours while, like, drinking a glass of wine or some shit. That is crazy.
Why leave the end A and named very clearly in there? Toby knew exactly what he was doing when he posted this.
That's why. What a fantastic video. Oh my god. Great job. Make sure you go subscribe to her if you enjoy this other stuff. And if you guys want, like, other versions of lore videos, let me know which lore video or by who in the comments below so I know what to look for next, because I just looked up something and people seem to like this one, so that's how we got here. I guess I'll see you guys hopefully on the next live. But not you guys, because we're here now. That was awesome. Tell me you didn't enjoy that. If you guys like Deltarune and like that kind of shit, tell me that wasn't awesome. I could have watched that for 2 hours.